Hello, I'm David Sifuentes.
And I'm Michael Sifuentes. Welcome to Tejas Eagles. Today we wanted to do a very special video involving how to start a fire with the sotol plant using the hand drill fire starting method. So for our first true instructional video, we wanted to do it on fire, particularly starting fire with the hand drill method that has been used in South Texas with the sotol plant. And this right here is the sotol plant. The sotol plant is a plant that is indigenous to Texas and also most of the Southwest, extending from Texas to Arizona and even in areas of Mexico like Coahuila. The importance of fire cannot be stressed enough. It has uses in anything outdoors, from bushcrafting, historical trekking, and also search and rescue. Its uses are cooking, protection, and warmth, and its utility has given it priority as first video on our channel. This stalk right here, which was actually cut in half, came from the stalk that we just harvested, and part of the video we want to show you how to process this into a spindle and also a fireboard on the process of making a fire with a hand drill. Now the first thing I wanted to show is the carving of the top part of the stalk into a spindle. All we are essentially doing is making the spindle smooth and taking apart the rough parts from it that were naturally there because of the flower bloom. Things you may notice on this sotol spindle is the relative yellowness or whiteness of the wood. This is something to keep an eye out for, as if you do find gray patches or also tunnels in the wood, it does mean that weevils and also rot has taken a hold of the wood and it has become almost useless in terms for fire starting. Find a portion of the carved down stalk, which is about an arm's length and also not too thin but not too thick. What I mean by this is around here is the ideal thickness. Now you can go a little bit thinner, but you don't want too much thinner, or as you may see in the process we're going to be using for the hand drill, this top section may break. So if I want an arm's length, I'm going to start cutting down here. So about right here, just cut this way, this way, this way, so I can cut it down. Okay, the bottom portion is done there. Now I'm going to take a little bit longer than arm's length. So somewhere about here. That's the spindle so far. The second critical piece to this equation is known as the fireboard. Now, in order to make the fireboard, a segment of this bottom part of the stalk must be carved to make it flat on one side, flat on the other, hence making it the fireboard. Now, the first step in making the fireboard is to choose an ideal length, which personally would be about this length right here. So I will start to saw it. Now, a method of cutting used by many ancient cultures would have been that of scoring what they were sawing. So what they do is they cut around it, and so that they don't have to cut all the way through, they score around it, so in the end they create a weak point and it can just snap. Next step is to split it, so two sides. Slight adjustments can be made on the fireboard to make it more flat. As you see right now from the side, it's relatively flat, but I'll make such adjustments like this. As I said before, the sotol has a yellowish color, whitish color. That's ideal. And one thing you want to look out for is in the wood, if you can take your fingernail and press it into the wood and actually leave an indentation, just like so, then you have about the optimal softness and hardness ratio for the wood. Alright, now we need to create a hole in order for the spindle to drill into. Alright, that'll be accomplished by placing this on the ground, taking the knife and rotating it to create a small indentation, and just drilling it out. Okay, now I'm going to use the point of this spindle so far and just lightly drill. I'm just preparing the hole. This isn't the actual setup for the fire. A pebble can also be taken and used to make the indentation bigger. We're creating sort of what you would say a dent into this board. The tip of the spindle will also be made bigger so as to create a larger impact, or you can think of it a larger diameter on the hole. Drilling again. Try it again. Keep carving it away flat until you reach the full diameter of the spindle. You can also use this limestone, almost like sandpaper, to grind away the spindle tip. There are bits of smoke coming from it right now. Very minimal in regard to what's actually going to come from it. And I'm going to take a file on my Leatherman. Oops, that was a saw. File it down. So this is just another clip of me making the board. The hole in the board a little bit larger in diameter. Okay, you see the friction has somewhat charred the hole. Next thing is we will cut a triangular V-notch into this. If you just saw the sawdust that fell out, the object of this is to ignite the sawdust that came out of the hole into a small ember, and that's what the fire will actually start from. Take my file, just Take away some of the splinters. See, it's cut towards the center to allow for the sawdust to fall out of the hole and collect in this notch. Now, earlier I had this from splitting this board, and I will use this to collect the sawdust at the bottom of this notch, if you can see here. Okay, so now that we have the instruments with which to start an ember, we need also the fuel to start a flame. So a favorite of mine to use in Texas is actually this tree right here, known as the ash juniper, the bark. So what you actually do is you take the bark. Not all the bark is not to kill the tree, although many ranchers would prefer that. Take your knife and collect it little by little. This tree, it's fairly hard to collect because they're so the bark is so thin. However, if you take the bark from a more mature tree, you'll get very long strips, very long, wide strips to pull off of it. Now you take this right here and you crumple it up. So I'm gonna go gather a bunch of it and crumple it up and roll it into an actual cedar bundle. Right, now the technique to spinning this, most of the time for right-handed people, which I'm right-handed, so in other words my strong side, would be for this to actually be flipped. In other words, the board would be on this side and my other foot would be on the board and my knee would be raised. Now for the sake of actually getting it on a second camera, which is right here, and to show the sawdust collecting, I'm in this awkward position, which probably doesn't look too awkward, but it is awkward for me. Okay. Now, the secret to spinning this is to first get the motion down. So I am pressing down with my triceps and also my pectorals. So I'm putting weight down on it, but at the same time, show this view, I'm spinning about this far. So I'll get to it. This does require a lot of endurance. Only a few people in the survival community have even attempted. Most of the time the flint and steel and the bow drill are preferred above this. This is my favorite because of how quickly things can be assembled with minimal gear. Alright, so let's get to the actual fire starting. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, when you see smoke starting to come from the actual ember, sawdust, then you can stop. I'm protecting it from the wind. And as shown earlier, I have my tinder bundle right here, ready to go. I let the orange flicker spread throughout the sawdust also. I create a small indentation in this to catch it. The tinder bundle should also be fairly tight. smell of a fire in the woods can be one of the most satisfying things that you can smell. First, the smell of warmth, and also control of your situation. So through the work and also the many calluses you may have to put in to learn this method, it'll all be worth it in the end. Hello everybody. Along our trip down Cibolo Creek, I was pleasantly surprised to find this other plant, which is also known as the frostweed. It can also be used as an alternative to sotol. It's a pithy wood. We can't use it right now because right now there's quite a bit of water in it as the plant is alive, but in the summertime, when the heat of the sun will dry out this plant can be used as a fire drill. The wood becomes obviously dry, harder to a fingernail touch, and it can be used as a fire drill, as you can see right here. This plant right here, it has these, it shoots up this kind of flower stalk. At the same time, it's really neat. We also want to show you right now, we shot a short video of the plant will actually release water from its base, and during a night of a freeze, it'll form ice crystals at the bottom. It's kind of rare in Texas because we don't get many freezes in Texas. It's mostly just hot in Texas. But yes, this is the frostweed, and maybe we'll do a future video on this, on starting fire with this plant later on. Thank you.